Hey, good morning. What's going on, everybody? This is the Stokastic.com MLB strategy show, 11 game action on a Tuesday. Michael, Steven, Cujo, Robert, everybody else, glad to have you with us. We've got a fun one today. Big slate, more Coors Field, of course, and a few pretty monstrous totals, except one of them stands out. 7 runs. 7-run total for the Philadelphia Phillies today, but we've got a 6. We've got a 5-8. We've got several north of 5, and then you've got a few of them down in the basement at sub 4. But no surprise here. Philadelphia Phillies 7-run total against Coors Field, facing Antonio Senzatella. It's funny, I kind of gave up. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of gave up on that game yesterday. And Sanchez was fine. He went, 6 innings, 3 earned, 7 Ks. Would have been nice if they piled all those runs on in the 7th where he gets the win. But he was fine. Freeland was good. It's 3-1. And then the Phillies pile it on in the 8th and the 9th. Absolutely pile it on. Put up 9 runs in that game. So that's why it's 9 innings, right? That's why there's plenty of time. And just when things look dire, if you're facing the Colorado Rockies, 9 innings is a long time for that pitching staff to figure things out. But happy to have you guys with us. Hey, if you don't mind, take a single second this morning. You know the drill. Atone for your sins. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It's free to do so. Goes a real long way, so I appreciate you guys for that. Fickle YouTube algorithm. We gotta fight it somehow. And hey, if you're watching or listening after the fact, leave a comment down below. Try and read all of those every single day. But let's dive into it. It's 11 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we've got baseball to talk about. Now, let's do it the way we usually do. Of course, you guys have any comments, any questions, any pitchers we want to dig into a little bit here, fire away. Let's make it happen. And we'll do pitchers first. Then we'll take a look at some stacks. We'll look at some of the lineups that we're getting, because at the end of the day, that's more important than any one individual exposure to pitchers or stacks. And then we'll take some home runs and see if we can parlay them into a beauty. Hit a monster today going into midweek. But I don't think anyone's surprised to see Jesus Luzardo up there again. I don't know why you would be. It's against just a dismal Colorado team, and Luzardo's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. He's the 4th highest priced pitcher on the slate. Granted, the DraftKings has failed to bake Coors pricing in. Or I'm sorry, they've failed to bake the ineptitude of the Rockies in. It's a problem. But I think 9,300 here is much more reasonable. What I mean is I think they priced Luzardo better than they've priced a lot of pitchers facing the Rockies at Coors this year. But he's been great. I mean, you're talking about one of the best pitchers in baseball this year, and I don't think that's a stretch for me to say that at all. If we go into Fangraphs, we can look it up. I'll just go by, pitching. Hold on, let me refresh this. Pitching. We can look at some of these simple numbers, but now Luzardo really has been one of the best. Let me just get starting pitcher in here. Right? He's got to be top 20 in a lot of spots. And if he's not, we already know how good he's been. I mean, you're talking about someone who on the season, through his first, what has he made? 9 starts? 57 Ks in 54 innings. He's allowed more than 2 runs in a game one time through his first 9 starts. And he's allowed 2 home runs in 54 frames. Like, the guy's just been fantastic. He pitches deep into games. 95 plus pitches in each of his last 4 with 100 plus in 3 of them. You want that all day long, knowing that this guy has a long enough leash to kind of make up for possibly a underwhelming game. But even you look at this, 2 ERA isn't sustainable, but 3.2 xERA, 3.35 xFIP, 2.36 FIP. Fantastic stuff. 26% K rate to a 6.8% walk rate, 5% barrel rate. Not giving up a ton of fly balls. He's great. He really is. He's great. It's funny too, because you look at the Phillies and, I'm in the area, right? I'm in Bucks County, but it's outside of Philadelphia. Obviously a Phillies fan, and you consume, whether you want to or not, a lot of Philly sports media or just people talking about it. And the Phillies got criticized for not making any big splashes, any big, acquisitions in the offseason. But if you ask me, adding Jesus Luzardo to this rotation is a massive add. Massive add. So yeah, look at the Sims exposure we've got right now. Second most exposed pitcher is Jesus Luzardo, 36% owner exposure. We're getting well above the field on him, 11% leverage, even at 9,300, because yes, the Rockies have been that bad. Not getting to as much Tarik Skubal, who's a phenomenal pitcher. I mean, this guy will win a Cy Young. There's zero doubt about it. He should be minus money to win multiple Cy Youngs throughout his career. That's how good this guy is. The strikeout stuff is dominant. 11 plus Ks in 3 of his last 4. Not the greatest strikeout matchup, though, against St. Louis. I'll tell you that much. Not the best. Plenty of better spots. It's not the fact, though, that Luzardo, or I'm sorry, it's not the fact that Skubal, and I'm sure you guys know this already, isn't a phenomenal pitcher. It's that you're paying $11.5 for him today. $11.5. And he's $500 more on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. Crazy. That's why Skubal's getting more ownership than Luzardo on FanDuel, because Luzardo's almost the same price. But what a difference that salary makes. 11.5 on Skubal is a crazy price point. I'm not saying you won't be able to fit him into some lineups, but dude, you play Luzardo, or I'm sorry, you play, let's just say, give me a random play, say Gunnar Hoglund and Tarik Skubal. That's $20,000 in pitching. Also, can we laugh at the fact that remember not long ago, like 3 weeks ago, I was talking about how we needed to get some $4,000 Gunnar Hoglund in there. And there was agreement from everyone watching. Plenty of agreement. Like, yeah, you got to play some Gunnar Hoglund at 4K. How is this guy 8,500? Literally this month. I'm looking at it now. Earlier this month, Gunnar Hoglund on the 2nd of May. So 18 days ago, 2.5 weeks, he was $4,000. And now he's 8,500. Make that make sense. And I'll tell you, I was just outside. I haven't had allergies, but my eyes are itching. $4,000, has a phenomenal game. 6 1-run innings, 7 Ks against the Marlins. Then he's pedestrian against Seattle. Gives up 3 home runs against the Dodgers. DraftKings decides, hey, you know what? This guy should be 8,500. So he was wildly underpriced when he was 4K. And now he's overpriced at 8,500. The only silver lining here is he's going up against an Angels team that has the highest K rate in baseball against righties. But that's a tough ask. That is a real tough ask at 8,500. Not because the matchup isn't good. Not because Hoglund isn't fine. But this park stinks for pitchers. Absolutely stinks. But yeah, if you played Skubal and Hoglund, you're talking $20,000. Keep vape. What's better than baseball talk at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday? I agree. Steven, Skubal K prop on BetMGM is 7.5. Heavy juice to the under. Makes it hard to get there. I actually bet the under 7.5 today. That scares the hell out of me. But I bet the under 7.5 on Skubal early, like 6 a.m. this morning. What's the juice? I'm curious to see what I got it at. I don't remember. But yeah, 11.5. I agree with you. Juice to the under at 7.5. Does that mean that he's going to have under 7.5 strikeouts? No, but it does mean that he's going to be a little bit more difficult to get to. For sure. And you're paying a massive premium on him. Let's see. I got it at minus 140. You saying minus 175? That's BetMGM. I got better on DraftKings. I don't know what it is there now, but whatever. I digress. And what about Yamamoto too? What about Yamamoto? Guy's excellent, but he's $10,500 against Arizona. Arizona pummeled them yesterday. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the preeminent pitchers in baseball right now, Yamamoto. Tough matchup. Arizona doesn't strike out a ton. They're a good baseball team, good park. You know, all of this doesn't point towards me stacking Arizona, but it doesn't mean I'm in love with Yamamoto either. Guys, check this out. So the Dodgers, great baseball team, right? But Arizona this year is number 1 in weighted on base average against righties. They're number 1 in ISO against righties. And they're number 3 in WRC plus. They also have a 20% K rate that is sitting 23rd in baseball, and they walk at 10.3%. I think it's fair to say that we have enough plate appearances this far into the season, right? We're almost 2 months into the year. Enough plate appearances where we can at least glean something from this. They've faced 1,000, over 1,300 plate appearances against righties. That's wild. And how about this? Only the Angels have more home runs against righties. Isn't baseball a strange sport? Is baseball not one of the weirdest sports in the world? The Angels lead the league in home runs against righties this year. And to be fair, in strikeout rate, that actually does check out. Similar to the Athletics last year. But I'll tell you what, as good as Yamamoto is, I don't know that I want to be overweight on him at 10.5 today. And Sims don't have a lot of them. They're only giving me 2% on my first run. Yes, things will change throughout the day. We already know that. But still. DC, I unfortunately think we'll be getting to some Gavin Williams today. All right, look at the screen, DC. I'm gonna do a slow reveal for you. You ready? Here we go. Birdsong, Warren, Luzardo, Gavin, not as climactic as I expected. But Gavin Williams, we are getting to 45%. It's uncomfortable, no doubt. And the Sims have been getting us to a lot of him lately, but let's call a spade a spade. 2 starts ago, remember the Sims were giving us a ton of Gavin Williams, and even I remember this in chat, but I include myself in this. We're all like, listen, we're just going to do it. Maybe some of you quietly didn't want to. We're like, you know what? We're going to play him. It was against Philly, by the way, in Cleveland at Progressive Field. Like, yeah, we're just going to do it. We're going to play Gavin Williams here. The Sims we're getting him jammed in the Sims. And he was 70 or 6,800. He went out there and threw 5 scoreless with 8 Ks. Excellent game. And then last start, we got a lot of him too. Wasn't as good, but only gave up 4 hits, right? 2 earned in 5 innings, 6 strikeouts. Had he gotten the win in that game, that's another 20 DK point performance. So now you're talking about Gavin Williams against Minnesota. And, you know, it's a Minnesota team. I know a lot of you guys have said this recently. Like, hey, ride the wave. You got to ride the Minnesota wave. I can understand where you're going with it, but I'm not a huge believer in that. I think oftentimes, because we don't know when hot streaks begin and end, you have to sometimes take the other side. You know, if they're red hot and a pitcher's salary on the other side is down as a result, do you ride the hot hand or do you go with a discounted pitcher? And I think it's fair to say that Gavin Williams is a little bit discounted here. That game yesterday was suspended, right? Still is. But, you know, they've got some injuries in this team right now. You got multiple guys on the IL. I'm going to take a guess. I don't know what their implied total is. I'm going to say 4-4. Cleveland has a good bullpen too. 4-4. Let's see. 4-run total. Shit, man. So you're telling me that Minnesota is actually tied for the third lowest implied total on this slate, with Cleveland on the other side of this game in Kansas City against Hayden Birdsong. Say no more, fellas. No, in all seriousness, now I totally get it. Absolutely understand it. He's good too, right? This is a relatively young pitcher. Like, he's a 25-year-old first round, and take that for what it's worth, but former first round pick who, at the major league level, how many innings has he pitched? 200 career innings now for Gavin Williams. He's got a career 24% K rate, which is only coming up 27% this year. I think it's really reasonable to say that he finishes the year with a 25, 26% K rate. You got to bring that walk rate down, no doubt about it. But there's enough here. He's getting hit harder than we'd like to see. He's not like an extreme ground ball pitcher or anything like that. Home run to fly ball rate, I don't love it. But we know that we have the upside from a strikeout standpoint. 13% swinging strike rate. I can handle that. Absolutely. At a mid-sevens. So let's look at it like this. And I always try and drive this point home. At a mid-7 salary, what do you expect the strikeout rate to be? I'm asking you guys too. Like, what would you expect a guy to have K rate at a mid-7K price point? I don't know. Anywhere between 19 and 22%, right? Something like that. But he's at 27%. It's a great number. Roger said 20. Exactly, Roger. Yeah, 20%. Somewhere around 20%. Maybe a little bit higher on some of these guys. That's fair. But 27% is high. And Minnesota is dealing with injuries, so I get it. And again, you guys make your own decisions, right? No one's forcing you to jam Gavin Williams here at all. But I think it's a worthy spot and a good pitcher. Of course, we'll have to keep an eye out for weather, because out there they're just always getting drilled with weather. And it looks like, I'm looking at it now, it looks like this game is a problem. It's also easier to postpone games when you've got divisional teams. How many more times are they going to face each other this year? It's not like Cleveland's out there in Philly again, or Philly's in Cleveland, and they're not going to face each other again this year. So yeah, that's a problem. But if it isn't a problem, Gavin Williams. So I get it. We had another, where is it? Ram. What's up, Ram? Prefer Warren to Williams. I was just going to say that. So Ram said, but if Cleveland gets rained out, Warren may become overowned. Yeah, it depends. I mean, let's see, because we're getting a lot of them. Matter of fact, I won't say it's an indistinguishable difference in exposure, but if you look at the three guys we're getting the most of, it's Gavin Williams at 45%, Luzardo at 36%, and Will Warren at 34%. If this slate were to lock right now, a third of your lineups, more than a third of your lineups, would have Will Warren in them. And I got no issues with Will Warren. You guys already know. Anybody facing Texas at this point, I'm just so down on this Texas team. The one thing they do well is they put the ball in play at a decent clip. But it's funny because they're not patient either, right? They have the second lowest walk rate, ahead of only the Royals against righties this year. 89 WRC plus is bottom 5 in baseball. It's a pretty bad Texas team. No joke. Isn't it funny when you look at something like this and you're scrolling and you're looking at some of these metrics, and I like to use, these are simple for us to use. They give us a good enough idea of whether or not a team is decent or not. But against righties this year, they basically have an identical WOBA to the Rockies. They have a lower walk rate than the Rockies. They have the same exact ISO, 148 and 147. They're bad. They're bad right now. So Will Warren's fine. And you're getting Will Warren at what? 7,500, essentially the same price as Gavin Williams. I'd say both of these guys are probably a little bit underpriced. Neither of them are elite arms, but I'd say both of them actually make a ton of sense. They're in the bottom half of pitcher pricing today. And Warren's last couple starts, he's been fantastic. Against the Athletics in that brutal park for pitchers, and in Seattle, good park for pitchers, but Seattle's good. His strikeout stuff's been phenomenal. 8, 7, and 9 Ks over his last 3 games. He's got to have a 25+% K rate on the year. 27.9% for Will Warren. You know, Ram, it's funny. He's not all that much different than, like, him and Gavin Williams here kind of look like the same guy. They kind of look like the same pitcher today. Obviously, Minnesota's been better, but they're dealing with injuries. They have nearly identical K rates against righties. Neither of them walk against righties. Very similar teams. Very similar matchups. 2 pitchers that get a lot of strikeouts, but when they get into trouble, they can get pummeled. And yeah, Roger, that's fair too. The win equity for somebody like Will Warren helps today. Going up against the left-handed Patrick Corbin. And this game is at Yankee Stadium, but that's okay. No weather there either. It's going to be a nice day. Real nice day. I'm on board. I get it. Now I guess we got to talk about Hayden Birdsong. Fun name. He's number one. You've got the significant park advantage today in San Francisco. He's $6,300. Wow. Kid looks like he's 16. Look at that. Wow. He looks so young. Yeah, I guess the facial hair on that fella. You're not convincing anybody of much looking like that. But anyway, he's another one of these guys. Quality strikeout stuff. Just not a polished pitcher. He's just not polished. He probably shouldn't be 6,300. You know? The question now is how deep can he go? I would personally say I'm not very worried about it, because in his last appearance, he threw 65 pitches. 65 pitches. Not bad. He wasn't good, but he threw 65 pitches. And he has been good. He replaced Hicks in the starting rotation because Hicks had been bad. Birdsong's actually at 63 in a great park, a pretty good spot. So I like what the Sims are getting us to right now. Jonathan Diaz, how about that? That's an interesting one. A lot of really cheap pitchers today. How about this? Because I look through this for the first time with you guys. I enjoy it more that way instead of knowing everything before we come into it. I like to kind of digest it as we go along. So that means that of our 5 most exposed pitchers, including Diaz, because we're getting almost 20% of him, 26% Birdsong, 34% Warren, 36% Luzardo, and 45% Gavin Williams, only one of them is priced above 7,600. That is crazy. So now, the elephant in the room. What do we do with Dylan Cease? Right? What do we do with Dylan Cease? The guy is $8,800. and he's pulling 20% ownership. We're getting half of that right now. It has not been the strongest year for him so far. But the strikeout stuff is still 100% present. And I think the reason we're not getting to as much Dylan Cease as you would expect is, this is going to sound wild to you guys, but it's true. Based on what we've seen with Dylan Cease this year, he hasn't been all that different than Will Warren, and he hasn't been all that different than Gavin Williams. They've actually been pretty similar. And I know there's one game that Cease had earlier in the year that kind of skewed all of these numbers. But even outside of that, you know, at times he struggled to work deep into games. He didn't get through the fifth in 4 of his 9 starts. He's not all that different right now than those guys. 28.6% K rate. So I think sometimes you're just going to see more Gavin Williams, if that game plays, and more Will Warren. Yeah. DC, it would take an act of Congress for me to get Cease right. He's tough to get right. He's been all right to me this year, though. There have been a couple good spots where we've played him and he's been fine. Like against the the Angels, had to play Dylan Cease in that spot. I think we ended up getting, when we did this show, like 75% Dylan Cease, and I didn't touch it. 6 2/3 innings, 2 earned, 10 strikeouts. So I like him today. But I can understand why we wouldn't be getting as much as Warren and Gavin Williams, just because those two guys are a lot cheaper. And also, you know, as underwhelming as Toronto's been this year, this is a team that strikes out at a really low clip against righties too. 19.5%. It's honestly comical how similar these matchups are for all of these guys today. Sure, there's some differences and there's spots where it's unique, but pretty similar spots. That's just why Luzardo looks so good too. Colorado's so bad. They're so much worse than anybody else because they strike out at an insane clip. But yeah, like you've got Birdsong. Well, Kansas City strikes out at the lowest clip in baseball versus righties. Toronto's bottom 5. Arizona against Yamamoto down at the bottom. All of these guys. Texas, 20.6%. Let's see if there's any other cheap pitchers or unowned pitchers that we can get to. So right now, as far as ownership goes, looking at the top pitchers tool, if you guys use the Sims, if you have the tools, make sure to use these as well. Right? It's right in this drop down here. Sorry, because I have it zoomed in, but usually it's a drop down. MLB, and then just go to tools and Sims or premium data. Premium data, it's all right there. Make sure to use this stuff. I don't know how weird I want to get today. Senzatella, no. McDermott at 8K, no. Ryan Nelson against the Dodgers, no. Kyle Hendricks, Zach Littell. Littell's had a rough year. Lorenzen's 8,200 in San Francisco. Solid pitcher. Not a good strikeout pitcher. I had under 4.5 on that guy, and he goes over 7 innings and gets that 5th strikeout in the 8th before they pull him last game. He's good, though. Lorenzen's a good pitcher. He'd be one guy that I'd be willing to, you know, entertain the idea. We're not getting any of him right now, though. Because that price is so similar to Cease, and it's more expensive than Will Warren and Gavin Williams. So where does he fit in? Another casualty of the slate. Patrick Corbin against the Yankees. Chris Paddock. No, I mean, and that game has some serious rain. I'd rather play Gavin Williams on the other side. We talked about Hoagland. He's 8,500 in a bad park against an Athletics team that doesn't even strike out nearly as much as they used to. Look, they're bottom 4 in K rate versus righties. So you don't even have that advantage. Oh, I'm sorry. The Angels, I was thinking the other way around. The Angels, whatever. Angels have a high strikeout rate, but they also have power, which is bad for this park. You want to pay 8,500 for him, go for it. He has some positive leverage, surprisingly, but that just seems like such a steep increase in price for a guy that has made 3 starts, one of which was good. The others were passable, but certainly not worthy of $8,500 price point. Eric Fetty, Bryce Wilson, Logan Henderson against Baltimore. You know, I was going to say Logan Henderson's not the craziest idea, but he's 9,500. He's been damn good, though. 2 starts. Maybe that's a blind spot. Maybe we should be getting to some Logan Henderson. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. 2%. I kind of have a little interest here if nobody's going to play him. What's he at? 8% ownership. But that's funny because Logan Henderson, look at this. Chris Bassett, too, against San Diego. I just hate playing pitchers against San Diego, man. Bassett's been good. Logan Henderson is 7th in top 2 pitcher probability on an 11-game slate and 10th in ownership. I don't think that's crazy. JB Yankees, Baltimore stack is what we want today. All right. 4.5 run implied total. That's fine. Are we getting any of them in the Sims? 2% 5-man. So basically, not much at all. No, not a lot of Baltimore. We'll get into these. But as I always do on this show, time to shout out the fellas. And congratulate these people if they're in chat because these are some incredible achievements. Dr. Rex, good fella, took down the Millie with the Stokastic PGA Sims and the Stokastic Avatar. It's hard to see because it somehow got zoomed in, but that is the Stokastic Avatar, first place in the PGA Millie. On Sunday, he won that. I mean, what a beautiful sight. I wish it was me, but that is incredible. Dustin, first time using the Sims for PGA and took it down right away. Thanks for the great tools. Joey Prindle, I loved Stokastic MLB. Simple as that. $20,000 for Joey. And Landra, first month with Stokastic and already got a huge win in the MLB Minimax the other night. 600 extra turn. Remember I told you guys a lot of low stakes players actually use these Sims. And a lot of people, it's not even because they can't have the bankroll. It's because they don't enjoy the sweat when there's a lot of money on the line. They much more enjoy the sweat as a hobby. But congrats to all of you guys. Just a phenomenal weekend across all of these sports. And as you guys know, you ever want to get in, you ever want a discount code, DM me at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. My handle's right there under my name. You can see it. Same thing on X as it is on Instagram. Find me, hit me up, say, yo, Loughy, look, I want to use these tools. I want to build better lineups. I want to get with the times. It's 2025. Times are changing. The edge isn't what it used to be. I want to use the single lineup sim. I love building by hand. I love playing 3-max, but I need some of that feedback running these sims and getting instant feedback on these lineups, helping me build these, learning how to become a better player to make better lineups and ultimately make more money. So hit me up. Hey, Loughy, I was watching the show. Can you grab me that code you were going to get me to get in at a good price so I can try these tools out for the month? And I'll say, yes, sir, I can do that. I'm doing it every day. Every day we're on these shows, I check my DMs and hit you guys up right afterwards. Right afterwards. So hit me up. And for any of you guys who are looking to maybe expand things significantly here, in honor of this Millie win, if you use, and by the way, the link is in the description. If you use PGA Millie and sign up for 2 months of the core all access sims, you get the third month 100% free. That's a $200 discount right there. It's a $200 discount. So if you're saying, you know what? I love DFS. I want to play every sport because All Access gets you NASCAR, PGA, NBA, MLB, everything, right? UFC, MMA, all of that, everything. That'll get you that through the summer. You'll be heading into the football season and you'll be free rolling that final month. So PGA Millie, PGA MILLY. If you have questions, hit me up, but use that link. 2 months of the core All Access and your third month is 100% free. So do that. Or if you're looking to get in on 1 month of MLB Sims for free, or not for free, with a code, DM me and I'll get you there. So many different ways you guys can do it. Anyway, let's take a look at some stacks. If there was one thing that really jumped off the page at me, it was the fact that we are loading up on this Athletics and Angels game. Absolutely loaded up on this game. If you look at our total stack exposure for 5-man stacks, you're talking 32% between the Athletics and the Angels. Almost 11% combined 3-man stacks and about 10% 4-man stacks. Incredible. This park is becoming one of the best parks in baseball for hitters. And who would have thought, like, we're coming into this year and there's just a park out of nowhere that is this good. It has a 10.5 run total. Do you know what the total is in the Rockies game? 10.5. It's nuts. Both of these teams have totals north of 5 runs. Whereas in the Philly and Rockies game, the Phillies are minus 300 money line favorites. They have a 7-run total and the Rockies are at 4.4. Meanwhile, with the Angels, they're at 5-1. The Athletics are at 6. How do you not get to this game? So yeah, if the slate started right now, we've got Athletics, we've got Angels, we've got Philly, we've got Houston against Zach Littell. And I will happily jump on Houston against Zach Littell. That's in Tampa. So great hitter-friendly park. The weather today, anytime around this time, it's 87 degrees. Winds are blowing out the center at 8 miles per hour. Fantastic hitting weather. 9-run total there. We'll take it. So yeah, Tampa too. Tampa's got a higher implied total than Houston today, so I'm not surprised we're getting around 5% of them. This can only mean bad things because I love our stack exposure and I like our pitching exposure today. Outside of maybe I'd like to get a little bit more Dylan Cease, but I like it. Why would I be upset with the fact that I have between 3, 4, and 5-man stacks? What is that? Like 25, 26% Athletics. Between 3, 4, and 5-mans for the Phillies, you're talking 20%. I'm not crying about that. That looks nice. Philly's got to be our highest 3-man stack just because they're expensive. Yeah. Some of these slates, we don't get to a lot of Philly. Even if they're in a great spot like Coors, today is different. We're spreading those exposures out across 3, 4, and 5-mans. Looks good. Take a look at some of our lineups. I'll zoom this in for you guys. All right. Angels, Yankees, 5-2 with Luzardo and Birdsong. You know, we're getting so many of these discounted pitchers that I think we're going to be able to do what we want. So here's a Scooble lineup with Diaz. It's a 5-2 Angels, Dodgers. 4-man Milwaukee with Gavin Williams and Will Warren. Birdsong and Bryce Wilson, Athletics, Philly, 5-3. That's sick. I love those type of lineups. Yamamoto and Bassett, Angels, Milwaukee, 5-3. Angels, Tampa, 5-2 with Scooble and Gavin Williams. Wow. How much are the Angels? What is their stat? What is their value percentage today? It's got to be through the roof. Yeah, it's the highest on the slate. Surprise, surprise. And then Tampa and Houston are second and third, respectively. Athletics are fourth. Philly's close to the bottom, but the fact that the Angels with a 5+ run total and the Athletics with a 6 run total, the fact that their value scores are top 4, and then Tampa and Houston are at 4, 9, and 5, and they've got value scores that high, it allows us to do essentially whatever we want. Gavin Williams and Bryce Williams with a 5-man Philly. Let me see if I can find another 4 or 5-man Philly. Here's a 4-man Philly with Warren and Birdsong. I mean, really no issues there. Let's see. Birdsong, Kansas City has a 4-run total and Texas is at 4.1. Those are low numbers when you consider you're paying less than $14K for the 2 pitchers combined. Here's a 5-3 Philly Angels with Luzardo and Bryce Wilson that has Realmuto, Harper, Bryson Stott, Castellanos, and Marsh. With Renifo, Zach Neto, and Joe Adell. That is sick. I'm actually loving these lineups. Sure, Bryce Wilson doesn't give me the greatest feeling in the world, but, you know, they can't all be winners. As a matter of fact, it's a spot I dislike quite a bit. But he's 5K. He's 5K. 5.1 run implied total. How much are we actually getting of him, or is he just popping up a lot at the top? That's always a question for me. All right, so we're still only getting 8% of him. It's just that he's showing up in a lot of these highest simmed lineups, which is interesting. So I would say to you guys, like, if you're only playing 20 lineups, you probably want to set an amount of uniques or tamp down his exposure. I could be wrong here, but I just favorited 20 lineups without any uniques. His exposure is probably going to be a lot higher if you did something like that. Yeah, see, 20%. I don't want 20% of him. I would much rather just set a bunch of uniques or cap him at like 10%. If I'm playing, you know, only 20 lineups. That's the thing about the Sims. If you're playing fewer lineups, your exposures can start to look weird because certain guys you might not get a ton of across 150 lineups, but they'll pop a lot at the top. See this? Like Birdsong's 40%. And then now we're getting a lot less Will Warren, which I don't feel great about. So I would want to change that up. Let's see what just happened. Let's see what happens if I go like 6 uniques on a slate like this and then favor 20. Does it change for us? Yeah, Will Warren's up. Okay, see what I mean? Outside of this Bryce Wilson, which you may have to make a manual adjustment on 150, or just keep it. If those sim out well, you're either going to have some amazing lineups with Bryce Wilson, or they're going to be dead before the 3rd inning starts. I'm okay with that. S&P said very chilly in Chicago with the winds blowing in. Yeah, 14-mile-per-hour winds blowing in, 54 degrees. Not great hitting weather by any stretch. I don't know if this game plays either. It should. But this has weather, and the Minnesota game has weather. But you see what I'm getting at. Anyway, let's take a look at some homer props here. Oh, you know what I meant to do? I wanted to see what the Gavin Williams strikeout props were. This tool on OddsShopper is free, by the way, guys. The Portfolio EV, which is the, you know, super robust algo, which is giving you plays straight to your phone every day. EV plays, tons of them every day. That's behind paywall. Highly suggest you try it out. Your first week free, link in the description. I have had an insane amount of success with this since we released it. But if not, don't forget, this live odds tool is free. All you need is a free account, but it's free. And you can you're not just checking the live odds screen, but you're seeing where the best odds are on all of this. It also allows you to figure out, hey, are there some spots that I like that maybe I'm misreading? So Gavin Williams, 5.5 Ks, pretty much equal juice on both sides on most of these books. Penny's got it juiced to the under, but let's say 5.5. Birdsong, 4.5 juice to the under. but he's cheap. Henderson, 5.5, pretty much equal juice on each side. Skubal is down to 6.5 in a lot of spots. That is fascinating. I told you guys I bet it on DraftKings at under 7.5. They moved it to 6.5. Yamamoto, 5.5 with the 10.5 price point, 10.5K price point. So, look, Warren essentially has the same K prop as Gavin Williams, who essentially has the same K prop as Yamamoto. Much cheaper. This is why. 4.5 on Gunnar Hoglund. He's 8,500. Dylan Cease is 5.5. This is what I'm saying, why Gavin Williams and Will Warren would pop. Lorenzen, 3.5 or 4.5, heavy juice to the under. Yeah, this stuff is super helpful. We don't have Walker Buehler, Clay Holmes, Spencer Strider on this slate. They're the 4 p.m. games, but yeah, you get the point. Luzardo is 5.5, minus 150 to the over on DK, minus 160 on Penny, and minus 150 on Circa. That's why. So if you have Luzardo, let's see. If you have Luzardo, even in Coors, I mean, really, you would think that this guy would be projecting as good, if not better, than Skubal. Let's see what their projections are. Yeah, Skubal's 18.7, Luzardo's 17.8. So less than a half a point difference and a $2,200 price difference. Luzardo projects better than Yamamoto. And Gavin Williams projects the same as Will Warren, Dylan Cease, Yamamoto. Not surprising to see those type of numbers. All right. Yeah, Luzardo has over 17.5 outs juiced at minus 130 to the over. Interesting stuff. Use the tool. It's free, guys. Links in the description, too, if you just want to hop on there. All right. Any home run plays we want to look at? Let's put 3 of them together real quick before we go. And like I said, feel free to hit me up. Shoot me a DM. Some of these fellas have done so. The Millie winner, the 20K just over the weekend. 2 first-time Sims users taking down tournaments or finishing top 3. Shoot me a DM. Hey, Laffy, I watched the show. Can I get that code? You got it, pal. All right. All right. Jake Berger. Do we like Jake Berger today? 6-1 on FanDuel. Against Will Warren, can't say I love it. Ellie, plus 575 on BetMGM. Brenton Doyle at plus 630. Trevor Story, not on this slate, but 10-1. Trevor Story, man, I've been betting this at 10-1 on FanDuel or sometimes on DraftKings, and it moves dramatically throughout the day. So if you're getting that there, I think that's always, regardless of matchup, just a good spot. Oh, we got positive value. Look at that. We have an edge, 3% expected, 3.8% expected value on Bryce Harper, plus 310 in Colorado against Senzatella. On FanDuel and on BetMGM, I'm betting that one. Love that spot. Langoliers. Oh, here's another one on DraftKings. Shea Langoliers, plus 370. We'll take the bit of value there. That's a great matchup against Hendricks. In a game where they have a 6-run total. I'll take it. You're also getting a great park and value, 3% edge. And then Jackson Holiday. I'm just going to keep betting this guy on FanDuel or wherever he has EV. So give me Holiday on FanDuel. Give me Shea Langoliers on DraftKings. We could go Logan O'Hoppe too. We could same game parlay that. What do you say? I'm going to same game parlay that one with Shea. That'll be fun. Plus 425 and plus 370. Going to do that the moment this ends. And somebody tweet at me. Say, hey, idiot. Did you forget again? Because I always have a call right after this. Tell me to parlay them. Tell me not to forget, just in case I do. Yankees 20. Yeah, Rowdy Tellez has been solid in that respect. Anyway, appreciate you guys. As always, hit me up if you ever have any questions. You want to get in on these tools, single lineup sim, the actual sims, post-contest sim, late swap, ownership, top stacks, top pitchers, all of the tools included. And I'll get you in at a great price on a month. Or you can take advantage of that PGA Millie promo and get a free month of all access when you grab 2 months of core all access, which is every single sport. Anyway, have a great rest of the day, guys. You've got Live Before Lock coming up tonight. You've got NBA Live Before Lock as we kick off the conference finals between OKC and Minnesota. So lots going on the channel. If you don't mind, hit me with a follow over on Twitter if you're there. My DMs are always open as well when you have questions or just want to say some shit. But until next time, we'll see you guys back here for the next one. Have a great rest of the day, guys. Peace.